Welcome, everyone. I'm Susan Mercurdy, President of Top of the World Travel, along with Brianna Bray, our Office Manager. Thank you so much for joining us for the first in a series of Travel Talk Tuesdays, where we invite our incredible preferred supplier partners to talk travel with us. Remember, we might not be quite ready to travel yet, but we can certainly look in the window. Tonight, we're joined by Erin Rogers, Sales Manager and Global Purpose Specialist with G Adventures. G is one of our favorite travel companies. They're committed to preserving and conserving our world by creating positive impact in the places they visit. So welcome to Erin, and thanks for being with us tonight. Take it away.
Amazing. Thanks so much for the great introduction, Susan, and thanks everyone for joining. If this is your very first time on Zoom, welcome to this very strange world that we're in right now. You have the control to change your video, turn it on. It's off for right now. You also have the option to unmute yourselves at the end if you do have a question and you'd like to share it with everyone. Feel free to chime in. The presentation tonight is all for you to learn about G Adventures. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about G Adventures. So I've been with the company since 2005, so coming up on 16 years. So over that period of time, I've had the good fortune to take quite a few of our tours and see a lot of this really beautiful world. So if you haven't traveled with G Adventures, we are a Canadian small group adventure travel company. We like to make sure that you get off the beaten path when you travel with us. We get you up close and personal in destination, and we get local by meeting the locals, staying in locally owned properties, and making sure the money is going back into those local communities. We also love to encourage you to get a little bit lost when you're traveling with us. We've got the safety and security of a guide guiding you the entire way from start to finish. So you can get a little bit outside of your comfort zone and see a place that maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable traveling in on your own. We are very focused on community tourism. It's actually at the heart of everything that we do at G Adventures. So every decision we make revolves around the question, is this good for the community and the local community that we're visiting? So every supplier, every accommodation, every restaurant, and everything in between is assessed for its ability to improve the well-being of every place that we visit, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. We, as a travel company, don't charge any single supplements. So if you are joining us as a solo traveler, you are never going to be the only solo traveler. Actually, quite a high percentage of our travelers are going solo because, again, we've got that safety and security of small group travel. You're traveling with like-minded individuals from all over the world, and our group sizes are really small. So you get to know people right off the bat. On average, a group size with G Adventures is just 12. So when I say small group, it's actually really, really small. We even have some tours that have a maximum group size of just 6. So if you and 5 of your friends want to get together and organize our Eastern Africa safari with National Geographic, then you'd have your own group. Now, traveling with us, we require a deposit, but it is a lifetime deposit, of course, when you're booking any tour with G Adventures. What that means is that your money is on file for use whenever you want to use it. We understand that there's a lot of things that can happen that'll change your travel plans. So we want to make sure to give you the utmost flexibility in making that travel decision, knowing that your investment is protected for you to use for whenever you want to travel next. In terms of confidence, we're also working on building that. Of course, it is, again, a new time, a new era. We have been running tours since September of 2020. We took a little bit of a break, of course, with the coronavirus, the COVID pandemic, but we're back to running tours now. In fact, we have some great itineraries running for April, May, and June, including destinations like Iceland, the Greek islands, Croatia sailing. We have some tours in Egypt, Morocco. We have Everest Base Camp in Nepal, and quite a few other itineraries that you might be interested in. If you are planning for down the road, though, what you should know is that if you're planning a tour for 2020 with G Adventures, for 2021, pardon me, you have right up until 30 days prior to make the decision if you want to go or not. So super flexible moving forward. If you're planning for 2022, you can make that same decision up to 60 days prior to travel. So we want you to feel comfortable in making your future travel plans. We've also done a little bit of kind of rethinking how we operate our tours given the current situation in the world. So for 2021, we're running smaller groups. So instead of our usual maximum of 16 people, we've actually reduced that down to 12 for most of these destinations. Some of them actually are even smaller. So the sailing trips that we run in Greece, Croatia, and Montenegro are on a sailboat that holds just 8 people. Your fellow travelers are going to have to go through full-on COVID health and safety checklists before they join a tour with us. For now and the immediate future, of course, masks are mandatory. We've implemented social distancing into our tours, and each one of our properties that we're staying at has had to sign off on the G Adventures level of health and safety. Our guides are amazing. We call them our chief experience officers. This is actually Ayman. He leads some of our tours for us in Jordan. The CEOs are responsible for ensuring that you've got an amazing adventure ahead of you, but they're also making sure to keep you safe. So they're trained in first aid, CPR, other safety protocols, and they've actually gone through extra COVID safety training. They're supported 24/7 by our local field offices, which are located all around the world, and they're well equipped to handle any kind of emergencies. So they can help you find local medical clinics if you're not feeling well. They'll translate menus for you. They'll tell you the history of their country. They'll talk about the culture. But first and foremost, they're going to make sure to keep you safe. So they're receiving new training to ensure that they're up to date on all health and safety policies during these evolving times. They've got the local knowledge to proactively help you navigate things wherever you're traveling. And their local knowledge really allows for greater flexibility when they're kind of taking you on these amazing experiences. So, I mean, example of that, picking out the greatest restaurants, which are also healthy and safe for you, following kind of protocols in destination, allowing you to relax and really enjoy the experience. These guys do such an amazing job, and the ones that are working for us right now, actually running these tours that we're operating in, are getting the most amazing reviews. They're so excited to be back to traveling, and we can't wait to have more people joining the tours in the near future. In terms of how you're getting around on our style of travel, it's a little different. So we don't really do coach tours. We have some beautiful purple branded buses that exist in a number of different continents, but our kind of transportation is really varied. So we use planes, trains, automobiles, and more. We have a small ship sailing program. We have some small yachts that go to the Galapagos Islands. We do riverboat cruising along the Mekong or the Amazon. So how you get around really depends on the destination that you're traveling in. Now, where you're staying is going to be locally owned, always with G Adventures. We are carefully selecting our accommodation partners for their high standards, but also for their local routes. So traveling in smaller groups means that we can pick these really cool boutique properties to stay at with fewer guests, which means there's less daily contact with others outside of your group. And we're working with these partners in destination to prioritize health and safety, of course. Where eating is going to be mixed. So it really depends on what you're looking for on your adventure. Some of our travelers love to taste the local market delicacies. Others are looking for a more comfortable dining experience. And now our guides, our CEOs in destination are the ones to really point out all of these amazing places to eat. And they'll find the littlest, tiniest places, like those hole-in-the-wall gems that you'll talk about for years to come. They'll also help with the translation, which is really important when we're traveling into over 100 different countries with G Adventures. It's always good to have a local that can help you out with that to make sure you're eating what you want to eat. And there's no surprises there. Now, when we're traveling, of course, at G Adventures, our care for you, our travelers, doesn't kind of end at the end of your tour. We are going to be making sure that, of course, everyone has a healthy goodbye. So making sure that everyone is feeling good about their experience. If they have any plans to stay on, our guides are there to help organize any extra activities or accommodations or give them local advice in destination. But most importantly, right now, we want to make sure, of course, that everyone is healthy. So before you join us, when you arrive, while you're on tour, and then again, before you leave, G Adventures is definitely looking out for your best interests through our CEOs, our guides in destination, and our local offices, and the support of our global team at G. So on a scale, in a normal year, we run tours for over 200,000 travelers. So that is a lot of people that are getting really great service and really amazing adventures under our G Adventures brand. Now, right now, safety, again, I'm going to mention it just one more time, is so important. So we worked really hard to put together our internal protocols in regards to health and safety and how to restart travel and restart tourism, which is a lot more complicated than just stopping everything, as you can imagine. That's been recognized by the World Travel and Tourism Council, and we've received the stamp of approval of safe travels. So this means that our health and hygiene protocols are in alignment with the WTTC's safety travel protocols. So that's really amazing. Just for you guys to know that we have been running tours over the past few months. We're going to continue to slowly open the world until we're back up and running in all 100 countries. It might take a little bit longer than we thought, but we're really excited to be bringing some of these destinations back for our global audience. Now, one thing I do want to mention just right at the start before I get into the destinations tonight is the idea of private group travel. So our tours are open to people to book onto from all different places. Um, Private groups is a way for you to book your own bubble of people and to go on an adventure. So one thing that people think about when they hear kind of group and travel, you think large coach buses, or you think like groups that are 50 plus. Now, groups with G Adventures really just means eight or more people. So if you have a group of 8 family members or friends or even colleagues that you're interested in traveling with, we can accommodate that with a private group. So just make sure to have a chat with the team at Top of the World Travel if you're interested in organizing your own private group. There are some really great incentives involved if you are putting together your own private group. So we have a collection of tours called Book Your Bubble Collection. So we're borrowing from the terminology from 2020. And you're able to book your own bubble and a select group of tours. So we have, I think, 80 in the collection now. And that 8th person will receive 50% off. So if you can convince 7 people to join you, then you get a half price tour, which is pretty amazing. One of the ones that I would love to recommend for that is our Greek sailing tours. So our Greek sailing itineraries, which I didn't put in the presentation tonight, but just want to mention it. We've got these 8-passenger sailboats. If you have a group of 8, as the 8th traveler, you would actually go free, which is extra amazing. And you don't have to tell your friends, I won't tell them. Or if you do want to share that, you can split that discount with everyone. So great idea if you want to think about that for either later this year or even into 2022. So I think there's a lot of people that are really ready to travel and to plan epic, amazing trips for 2022. So I want to share with you some of our favorite destinations. So regardless of when you're planning to travel, these are really great places to visit. So where to next? Now, next for us at G Adventures, I mentioned some of the tours that we're going to be running soon. So we've got Greece, Croatia, Montenegro sailing. We're starting to run Peru tours again in June. For the summer, we're going to be doing some Iceland trips, Costa Rica, Egypt, Morocco, and Nepal. So first on our list is Costa Rica. This is one that we have been running tours in since November. Always a popular destination for Canadians. It's really great especially great, I should say, if you love nature. Their slogan for the country is Pura Vida, so it's actually an eco-tourist dream. It's really unspoiled tropical paradise. Lots of time places don't live up to the hype, but Costa Rica definitely does. I have yet to meet a person that didn't absolutely love their time in Costa Rica and want to go back. The landscape is really amazing. There's quite incredible beaches. There's biodiversity. There's lots of volcanoes. There's rivers. There's jungle. If you love nature and wildlife, it's an amazing destination to visit. And the locals, the Ticos, are incredibly friendly. So they are living kind of their pura vida life and want to share it with you, the travelers. So one of our most popular tours in this area is called the Costa Rica Quest. It's tagged plus just as 2021. So this is part of our Travel with Confidence collection. Don't want to confuse anyone, but we're running this tour with reduced travel numbers for 2021. So smaller group size, a little bit more personal space in destination. So this is part of our Travel with Confidence Plus collection. But we do have departures of this tour available for 2022 as well. Now, as I mentioned, Costa Rica is a nature lover's dream. This tour is amazing because it visits quite a few destinations in really a short period of time. So it's a nice balance for the adventurer with limited time who wants to explore the different areas in Costa Rica. So you get to do a hike to waterfalls, you go into some hot springs, you can relax on the beach, you can walk in the canopies, you can look for howler monkeys in the national parks. And this is where we are taking our travelers on this tour. So all of our trips in Costa Rica start in San Jose. And this particular one, our first stop is at the G for Good project, which is how we give back to these local communities. So we work with local nonprofit organizations to build their experiences into our tours. So what the G for Good project is in Costa Rica is actually a coffee cooperative. So it's called Mi Cafecito. It's located in Sarapiqui and it helps to support over 200 farmers in the area. So what you get on tour is a visit to a coffee plantation. You get to learn coffee production. So from picking the beans to tasting it in your cup, like start to finish, they walk you through that. They also have a really great little gift shop where you're actually buying the souvenirs directly from the farmers. So 100% of that money is going back into the local community. So much better than any kind of airport souvenirs that you may have picked up before. From there, we go onwards to La Fortuna and Erin. We have a visit to hot springs. We have some time to do some optional activities around Erin. So Erin is a volcano. So in that area, you could do horseback riding, you could do mountain biking, you can just relax. There's a really great central plaza if you want to do some people watching. Onwards from there, we stop in Monteverde, which is the cloud forest. So in the cloud forest, we do a guided cloud forest night walk, which sounds like where you'll see the creepy crawlies, and that is exactly what it is. So there's a lot of these species in the cloud forest that come out at night. So lots of like really cool tree frogs, the more creepy crawlies of things, but it's an amazing experience to walk in the night in the cloud forest. We also have the option, of course, to do a day walk if you're not interested in the creepy crawly side of things. And then from there, we go down to Quepos and Manuel Antonio. So that's on the Pacific coast. It's a national park. There are monkeys, there are hiking trails. It's kind of calm water, so great for swimming, bodyboarding, not really any surfing there. And with this entire tour, we're traveling around by private shuttle. We're staying in locally owned hotels in 8 nights. We've got a couple meals included, and then it's up to you to pick and choose what you'd like to do in destination with the assistance of the guide. So I just want to share with you a couple of the images of the experiences on tour. So this is from the Mi Cafecito Coffee Cooperative in Sarapiqui. So you learn about like the harvesting, the husking, the drying, and the roasting of the beans. We also include a lunch here, which is a typical Costa Rican lunch with plantains, beans, and fresh caught tilapia fish. So all of that money from the tour and the lunch is going back into the local communities. In La Fortuna, this is a view from one of the properties that we stay at. So you can see the volcano in the kind of misty clouds in the background. So hot springs, bike riding, horseback riding, volcano hiking in this area. In Monteverde, we have a little bit of free time, which is built into most all of our tours. So one of the things that a lot of our travelers do mention is that they like the freedom and flexibility that can be had on a G Adventures tour. So we've got lots of highlights included for you guys, but there's also time if you want to pick and choose something extra adrenaline or more relaxing. So it's a choose your own adventure kind of thing. So in Monteverde, you can do zip lining if you want to. You can do walking across these suspended bridges, or you can go horseback riding in the hills. The wildlife that you get to see in Costa Rica is really pretty spectacular. And if you do have a little bit longer, of course, we've got longer tours to enjoy. But great destination for our Canadian audience, as it's not too far to get to Costa Rica. And like I said, I haven't met a single person yet that didn't absolutely love it there. Destination number 2 on our Around the World tour tonight is the Galapagos. So this is one of our most popular destinations for G Adventures. If you don't know anything about the Galapagos, hopefully I can kind of fill you in. It is located 1,000 kilometers off the coast of Ecuador, It's the site where Charles Darwin perfected his theory of evolution. It is an archipelago of volcanic islands, and the islands are all really unique. So some have white sand beaches, some look like you're on the landscape of the moon, others have these giant cactus trees. But what most people are going there for isn't the landscape, it's all about the animals. So it's an isolated haven of biodiversity. So home to arrays of birds, reptiles, fish, and mammals that you won't find anywhere else on the planet. What you see in this photo right now is one of the marine iguanas. So these guys swim in the surf. They can't process the salt, so they sneeze it out on the beach. So word of advice for you if you're traveling to the Galapagos is to give them a little bit of a space so you don't get sneezed on. Now, a lot of these animals don't exhibit any fear for humans because they don't have any natural predators, which makes it the most amazing wildlife experience because they're not going to be kind of scurrying or running away from you in the destination. Now, there's lots of other animals, so I'll show you some of those photos in just a moment, but just want to give you an idea of how we got in the Galapagos. So we've got 3 different vessels. So it is a cruise package. The vessels that we're using are really small. So I'm going to share with you the most comfortable vessel, but know that we have ones hitting different price points as well. If you're not interested in overnighting on a ship, then we've got land packages too, which is what I did in my recent trip to the Galapagos Islands. I did one of our island hopping tours where I stayed in 3 different islands and we traveled by speedboat in between the islands. I have also done the boat-based tours in the Galapagos, and it's great if you want to spend a little bit more time in the water. There's so much to see below the surface, so really great for snorkeling. The ship that I wanted to mention is our Reina Silvia. It's still being built, so it's going to be fresh for later this year or early in 2022. They're 10-day packages. We start and end in the capital of Ecuador at Quito. We include the flights to and from the Galapagos. And then in the Galapagos, you're going to be staying on this fancy boat, which holds 16 people. So all meals included, there's a jacuzzi on board. We've got daily excursions with the naturalist guide, snorkeling excursions as well, and that's all included in the pricing. This is the kind of the model that we're using for the design of the ship. It is, as I mentioned, currently being built in the Galapagos. Lounge area where we're going to do morning and evening lectures. But what you're going there to see is more the wildlife than the inside of a ship, to be really honest. The sea lions are so friendly. They remind me a lot of chocolate labs. They're super, super playful. So if you're lucky when you're snorkeling, you'll have one of these guys kind of swimming around playing with you too. If you're traveling with a GoPro, they'll probably come up even closer because they're curious little guys. The blue-footed booby is another amazing specimen that you'll get to see in the Galapagos Islands. So these guys aren't born with blue feet. It's part of their diet that actually transitions their feet into this really, really spectacular color of blue, almost like flamingos. The finches are predominant in all of the different islands. This is what Charles Darwin based his evolutionary theory on. So he traveled from island to island and discovering several species of the finches that varied. So that kind of helped him to come up with this theory of natural selection. Now, these guys are pretty amazing, but there's so many other cool creatures there. This is the Sally Lightfoot crab. It's one of few saltwater crab species that lives in the Galapagos. They make for really great photos. This is one of the land iguanas. There's 3 different land iguana species in the Galapagos. The marine iguanas, these are my favorite. They look like little dragons, dragons of the sea. There's also lots of things below the surface. So if you're interested in snorkeling, it's amazing to snorkel. There are schools of fish, but there's also marine iguanas, there are sharks, there are sea turtles, and there are just so many different things to see there. My absolute favorite in the Galapagos is the Galapagos land tortoise. So these guys stand almost a meter high. So just think of the scale. A grown human can actually fit in one of their tortoise shells, and they are like gentle giants. So you'll find them in a couple of the different islands, mostly in reserves now in the Galapagos Islands. So put that on your bucket list if you haven't been there just yet. Another big bucket list destination, and one again that we're going to be running tours to really soon in June, starting in June, is Peru. It's the cradle of ancient empires. If you have traveled with G Adventures, you've probably met someone on your tour that's been to Peru with us. In a normal year, we send about 20,000 people to Peru on different G Adventures tours. We're the largest operator on the Inca Trail, and we have probably over 20 different itineraries to choose from in destination. The one that I wanted to share tonight is part of our National Geographic collection. So about 5 or 6 years ago, we partnered with National Geographic to put together a line of tours that are a little bit more comfortable than a regular G Adventures tour. So what I mean in that is that the accommodations are upgraded. There's more meals included. In a lot of areas, we would fly instead of drive. And in partnership with National Geographic, we have different really spectacular experiences in connecting with National Geographic scholars and researchers in destination. The iconic Peru trip is 14 days and it covers a lot of ground in Peru. So we start in Lima, the city of the kings. We fly into the Amazon, and that sounds straightforward, but you actually fly into a town close to the Amazon, and then you go 2.5 hours by motorized canoe up into the Amazon, and you stay at a lodge called the G Lodge, which I'll show you in just a few. And from there, we spend 2 nights in the G Lodge going out with our naturalist guides to learn all about the wildlife in the jungle. We fly to Cusco, which is the heart of the Incan Empire, where we get acclimatized for Machu Picchu and the Inca Trail. We visit the Sacred Valley and we support a community tourism initiative there where we're going into the Parwa community for a local lunch. You can opt to do the train or hike the Inca Trail. The Inca Trail is 4 days over the course of 41 kilometers. The Inca Trail is going to be closed for the greater portion of this year, with plans to reopen it in the fall, late fall. We have the option to do a 1-day Inca Trail in some of our tours. So if you're not really interested in doing the 4-day, then definitely speak to your agent at Top of the World Travel about the option to do a 1-day trek. We won't tell anyone, and you'll still get amazing photos. Or you can take the train and be really comfortable and look amazing in your photos. At Machu Picchu, you meet up with an Inca warrior, which is what we call our local guides, and they are there to tell you everything that you ever wanted to know about this magical Incan site. We spend the greater part of maybe 2/3 of the day at Machu Picchu, and then we train back to Cusco. We go down to Puno in the south to visit Lake Titicaca, and we fly back to Lima. So lots included here. We're going into the Cusco Planetarium. We are going into a local home in Lake Titicaca for a local lunch. We visit a potato park, which might sound quite random, but they farm over 4,000 types of potatoes in Peru. And it's a really neat agricultural experience to speak to some of the farmers in destination. Now, this is the G Lodge where we're staying. So power is out at 10, it operates on generators. All the food is prepared locally from farms in the jungle. It's located in the lush Tambopata rainforest. So the journey is definitely part of the adventure here, where you're going 2.5 hours up riverboats or river canoe, I guess we'll say, up the river. So lots of chances to spot different bird species and creatures that are living on the forest edge, like the capybara, maybe the caiman, or maybe an anaconda. The local community members make up the majority of the staff, so a lot of them speak Quechua, but our guides, our naturalist guides, are going to be speaking English, of course, to us throughout the journey. So they're going to teach you all about the flora and the fauna in the jungle. Cusco is a really amazing city. It's the Mecca of Peru. It's the heart of everything that we do at G Adventures in the country, and it's a great base to jump off to visit some archaeological sites, to go horseback riding, or to go rafting. This is the train that you have the opportunity to take to Machu Picchu if you're not interested in doing the Inca Trail. It's driving all the way along the Rio Urubamba, and it'll take you up to the town closest to Machu Picchu, which is called Aguas Calientes. This is what everyone wants to see in Peru, though. Machu Picchu, it's spectacular. It's really a magical site. The best time to see it is super early in the morning to get that early morning light. It was rediscovered in 1911, and our guides are going to take you through the history of Machu Picchu. They still don't really know exactly why the Incans abandoned Machu Picchu. It was one of the few sites that wasn't demolished by the Spaniards. When you're at Machu Picchu, you have the chance to see the Temple of the Sun, the Temple of the Water, the Room of Three Windows. It is a 15th century UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's very magical. I cried my eyes out when I saw it, actually. It was just such an amazing experience. One thing not to miss is this great Machu Picchu stamp that you get to add to your passport once you've been there. And the other thing that we do include in this tour is a visit down to Lake Titicaca for a bit of culture. So in this area, we have a glimpse at a really recent past. So the islands that are located on Lake Titicaca are made out of reeds. They used to house a really big population of local Peruvians, but those folks have now since moved to the shores of the lake in search of better education and infrastructure and just a better lifestyle for their families. But those same people are guiding the tours on these islands. So it's a really, really amazing experience where you get to see, you get to have a local Peruvian lunch, you get to learn about weaving in the area, and get to have a chance to speak to some of the people that used to live on these islands. Next destination I wanted to share with you is Egypt. So we've got a couple different itineraries running for Egypt, and this is a destination that has been on my personal radar. I haven't yet been to Egypt and would absolutely love to get there. I feel like there's quite the collection of programs on Netflix right now encouraging me, or I've maybe just been tuning into all of these ones. So it's a country of rugged beauty with super friendly locals. The time to travel to Egypt is when not everyone else is going there, of course, because it's not as busy. We have got this really great tour called the Egypt Upgraded. It's running this year, so it's plus tagged, but we also have departures, of course, for 2022 and even beyond. 12 days, and what I want to share with you is just the itinerary. So we're including a lot of the highlights, but we also have a 3-day Nile cruise built into this tour, which I think sounds amazing. So we start in Cairo. We visit the Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx. We go up into Alexandria to visit the library and have some time on that kind of almost European beach town shores. We are going into the Egyptian Museum. We fly south to Aswan. We go over to Abu Simbel for a local tour there. We are jumping on this Nile cruise right in Aswan for that 3-night Nile cruise. We have lunch with a local family in Luxor, and we visit the Kom Ombo temple. We have an excursion to the Valley of the Kings and the Karnak temple. So lots included in this. Cairo, of course, is the starting point for all of our trips in Egypt. Biggest highlight for most people is getting to see those pyramids. So we want to check that one off right as soon as we get there. Alexandria, a little bit different vibe, a little bit more European. It was founded back in 331 BC by Alexander the Great. It's the only Mediterranean city, and you can see that the gorgeous color of the ocean here. Down in the south, we visit the twin temples of Abu Simbel. We do a caravan ride there and back. So it's 2 hours at the site to see the different temples. And one thing I do want to mention is that in Egypt, our guides are all certified Egyptologists. So these guys are not just picking up a guidebook and touring you around. They have studied Egyptian history to be able to share that information with you. So I can share with you kind of what I know from the itineraries, but their stories are going to be, of course, much better. Visit to Kom Ombo on this temple. It's right on the banks of the Nile. It's dedicated to the crocodile god, which is super interesting to me. So there's actually the mummified version of an ancient crocodile that was worshipped here thousands and thousands of years ago that you get to see when you visit Kom Ombo. And then also included is a visit to the Karnak temple, which is once the ancient center of all religious life in Egypt and looks just absolutely stunning. Another destination that's kind of on people's radar right now is Jordan. Visiting Jordan is a kind of a trip you plan if you've seen Indiana Jones, basically. There's no shortage of sights to see. Petra is the biggest one, and Wadi Rum, the desert landscape, is just so remote. You can literally walk in the footsteps of Lawrence of Arabia. And there's world-class diving on the Red Sea, or you can do the healing mud and the float of the Dead Sea. Lots to do there. We have a tour that combines Egypt and Jordan. So you get to do a little bit of what we just did in that Egypt tour. And then you fly over and tag on to Jordan. So including a visit to a Nubian village. We also get into see the Petra site, of course. We do Wadi Rum. We've got some desert camping here. It's pretty amazing. And instead of the Nile cruise, we just do one day and one night on a felucca. It's a little bit different kind of experience. Highlight of this one is probably the visit to the Bedouin camp in Wadi Rum, though, aside from seeing Petra. So we've got a little bit of free time to explore Amman, and then we journey to Petra to explore this UNESCO World Heritage Site. So you're walking through the 1 kilometer long gorge where you're surrounded by these incredible sandstone walls. You take in the history of Petra. And like I said, you've probably seen this in Indiana Jones movies. Now, our CEOs are going to be from Jordan. They're going to be telling you a little bit of the history of the city, which is one of the greatest attractions in the Middle East. They actually carved the capital from the living stone in the surrounding mountains of Petra. So you get to see the Pharaoh's castle, the Triumphal Arch, the amphitheater, and the monastery. One of the highlights in this portion, in addition to the Bedouin camp, I guess, is visiting Petra by night and enjoying a live Bedouin show. Now, the landscapes here, I mean, it does look like you're on the surface of the moon. We do a 4x4 excursion out into Wadi Rum. So Wadi Rum's known for this pink sands and the rock engravings, as you can see here. It's also known as the Valley of the Moon, and I mean, you can see why. It looks crazy, like very different from any landscape that exists anywhere else on the planet. And there's our Bedouin camp that we do. So 4x4 excursion, a really comfortable Bedouin camp. A couple other places just to put on your bucket list. We've got so many to talk about. If you want a little bit of culture with a little bit of kind of turquoise ocean, Sri Lanka and the Maldives needs to be one to think about. This is a really great balance. Sri Lanka doesn't see too many tourists, so it's actually really jungly still, really remote. They're very excited to have tourism. It's the best of Sri Lanka combined with a week on a boat in the Maldives. And it's very, very affordable. So if you've ever done any research into visiting the Maldives, those overwatered bungalows, I think, are about $1,000 a night. Our particular ship that we're using, I think our pricing is like maybe $2,000 for the whole week. It's amazing, amazing value. Now, with this tour, we started in Sri Lanka because we always want to end our tours with the most relaxing part. So we are starting in Negombo. We're traveling by a small vehicle, of course. We've got a couple G for Good projects in destination. We have a handicraft shop. We have a cafe that we actually support too. There's a visit to a spice plantation. There's a visit to a tea plantation, which is the biggest export out of Sri Lanka. There's a cooking demonstration where you learn how to make some delicious Sri Lankan food. We go on a safari in Udawalawi National Park looking for elephants. We spend some time down in Unawatuna on the beach, which is a fun place to stay. We do the Gala City and Fort tour, and then we loop it back to Colombo before we fly over to the Maldives and land in Mali and jump on board our Doni boat for our 7 days experience. On the Doni, we do snorkeling, we do swimming, we eat all the local food. Our team on board will catch fresh fish and prepare it family style because we have space for just 8 people on the ship that we use. It's a really amazing experience. Landscapes in Sri Lanka are stunning. This is a tea plantation that we visit, so it's tucked into the hills of Ella. We actually are staying not in this property, we're staying in a neighboring property that is providing the locals with meaningful employment and fair wages. So we're staying at a place called the Amba Estate, where you learn about the traditional techniques used for tea production and tea preparation. This is another one of the beautiful sites you get to see near Ella. On safari in Udawalawe National Park, we're driving through a nature reserve to look for the Asian elephants, which are smaller than the African elephants. They live in abundance there, and they're often found right in this place, right along the water. And the beaches of Sri Lanka are really beautiful to see as well. This is a traditional fishing way where they stand on these poles to catch their fish to trade at the markets. Hopping over to the Maldives, we are on this kind of a vessel. So very different style of cruise. As I mentioned, just 8 people maximum on here. We have a crew of 5. All meals are included, of course, and it's a beautiful way to see these islands. You're basically changing the landscape as you're going through the days. Beach, 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 everywhere you look. So we're spending 5 days cruising around the South Atolls, getting onto islands, going snorkeling, meeting locals. We visit some sites where there's shipwrecks or there's reefs to dive or snorkel, pardon me. And you can spend your time as you like on board the deck of the Doni boat. So there is sunbeds, there's time just for relaxing if you need a little time out. This is a beautiful way to do it. And the water is the clearest that I've ever snorkeled in my snorkeling. It's amazing. A couple other places just to kind of throw up on your bucket list. South Africa is one that personally I love as a destination. It has a little bit of the whole continent almost in a really small area or small-ish area, and you can safari there in style. So we've got a really amazing partnership with National Geographic, pardon me, and this is one of our most popular African tours. It's our Explore Southern Africa, 12 days from Cape Town. This one actually goes onwards past Johannesburg, pardon me, in that era, all the way up to Victoria Falls, as you can see in this map. So highlights, spending a couple days around world-class Cape Town. We do a trip along the peninsula to see the penguins, which is amazing. We also have the time to do a winery tour in nearby Franschhoek or Stellenbosch. You can jump on the cable car and go up Table Mountain, or just spend some time around the city of Cape Town. We fly to Johannesburg. We stay in a locally owned guest house in Joburg before we go over into Kruger National Park, where we go on safari with a National Geographic researcher in Karangwe Private Reserve. And then in Victoria Falls, you can walk around it. You can do a cruise at Victoria Falls. You can raft it, or you can fly over it in a helicopter. We've got lots of really amazing hidden gems in Victoria Falls also, including a meeting with one of the local families there who teach us about what it's like to grow up in Zambia and prepare a nice meal for our entire group. Now, Cape Town is one of my absolute favorite cities. My husband actually has suggested that we relocate there. He liked it that much. The waterfront's great. The restaurants are beautiful. There's some really interesting, colorful areas in Cape Town too. Bo-Kaap, beautiful, kind of brightly colored buildings with Portuguese slave trade industry, history, dark history. Beaches around Cape Town, though, are really stunning. Most people are a little bit more interested in the penguins than the beaches. So they have 3,000 African penguins that live in a colony really close to Cape Town. So make sure that's on your agenda. But the safari part of this tour is more why people are going to South Africa. So we spend a couple days in Kruger National Park and then a couple days in Karangwe National Park. So trying to get to see as many animals as possible. In Kruger, we are traveling around through 19,000 square kilometers. So it's one of the largest and most impressive animal wildlife reserves in the world. There are 147 different species in Kruger, and they have more species of large mammals than any other park on the continent. So think elephants, lions, cheetahs, leopards, rhinos, hippos, you name it. Anything that you've ever seen in a National Geographic documentary can be found in this park. From there, we go into Karangwe, which is a private reserve. The property that we stay at in this private reserve is stunning. It's we call it a tented safari, but it's very luxurious. So in your tented safari camp, you have a queen bed, you have hot showers, you have someone that walks with you to and from the dinner just to make sure that there's no wildlife in your way. It's an incredible safari experience. And you're going out on safari in these open air vehicles with certified safari specialists to look for wildlife multiple times in the day. Here we also meet someone that works for National Geographic that helps to reintroduce cheetahs back into the regular population. So they join us to talk about the need to protect these beautiful creatures and how they're planning to reintroduce them. And that's all supported by National Geographic, which is pretty amazing. Last spot on this particular tour is Victoria Falls, which, as you can see, is really beautiful. So this is the view from the helicopter ride over it. You can see on that bridge, there's a little bungee if people are feeling extra adventurous. But it's a great spot because you can hop over into Zimbabwe or spend some time in Zambia, really close, really easy to get across those borders to see a little bit different side of things. Last destination for tonight. I always save this one for last, but it's always funny talking about a cold destination for our Canadian audience. But if you're looking to go somewhere really unique and you want to go somewhere where there's no people, Antarctica is that place. It's the adventure of a lifetime. It is magnificent. It's unforgiving. It is it's full of penguins, obviously, and ice. There are very few travelers that are fortunate enough to travel to Antarctica, and we do this on board our largest ship, which is our G Expedition. This ship holds 134, so that's actually the largest group that we do at G Adventures. It also travels up into the Arctic, not our Canadian Arctic, but we go up into Svalbard, so the Norwegian Arctic. So we do a lot of our Arctic trips out of Longyearbyen up in the Arctic. And then we are doing some new tours actually with this one, going down the coast of Greenland, ending in Iceland for our Arctic highlights, or we have a new trip coming out next, that's out now for next year, that starts and ends in Reykjavik, Iceland, and it goes up into eastern Greenland. So the same ship goes to Antarctica in the Antarctic season, which is October till March, and then it spends time in the Arctic from usually May till September. The Antarctic Classic is the most popular tour we do in Antarctica. It's the shortest, so it's the most affordable. We have different cabins available on our ship. So we do everything from like a quad share cabin where it'd be 4 people in a room, all the way up to a suite where you have like a lounge area in addition to your actual cabin. The experience is exactly the same. So usually the quad cabins and the triple cabins sell out quickly. We don't charge any single supplements, so as long as you're willing to share, there's no extra fee for joining us on this trip. We actually get a ton of solo travelers because of that, and it's a really great social experience. We've got enough space for everyone to do the excursions together and to dine together. We've got 1 expedition staff available for every 10 travelers. It's a really great ratio there. They also dine with us for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So if you have like 5,000 questions about penguins or ice, our guides are right there to answer it for you, even over their morning coffee. They're so excited to share this experience with people. This 11-day experience goes to the Antarctic Peninsula, the South Shetland Islands, and you will be walking on Antarctica. So it's not just a cruise by to give it a wave. This is actually, you get off the ship for this tour, and that's all included. So there's a shot of our vessel. What you see in the orange, of course, is the life rafts. We've got zodiacs that are named after the provinces and territories of Canada. So there's a Northwest Territories zodiac that you could be jumping in. We have just an incredible team from all over the world that are making sure that everything goes off without a hitch. We have lectures in the evening. We have photography lessons. We do painting lessons. We've got a crew band that will entertain you. We also have a professional musician that joins the trip. We have, ornithologists, geologists, geographers, marine biologists, historians that tell you the most incredible stories of exploration in the polar regions. And of course, we've got penguins, which is really important. So this is the kind of experience that you would have. So there's a Saskatchewan Zodiac there. All the jackets are included. We've got boots on board for everyone, so no need to pack too much from home. You're in the Zodiacs usually twice a day to do landings or to do Zodiac cruises, just depending on where we are and what the ice is like, what the weather is like. If you're there at the kind of prime season, you get to see the penguin babies. It's a pretty amazing experience, just to add to all of the other big bucket list destinations that I wanted to share with you tonight. So if you are thinking about planning a trip for this year or next, we have brochures. We have just printed them actually. So talk to the team at Top of the World Travel for access to the brochures. You can see them online, or you can access an actual printed copy, which will be mailed directly to you. So we're looking to inspire our audience tonight with some ideas of what to think about for travel, either later this year, maybe in the last couple months of 2021, or onwards into 2022. We've got some really great sales as well that you can access through our team at Top of the World Travel. One that I do want to mention is that right now we're doing 15% off a lot of our Thailand tours. If you're looking at booking something by the end of this month on deposit for travel up until June of next year. Also, we have a special on our classic tours. So those are actually a lot of them that I mentioned tonight were classic. So like that Costa Rica Quest trip is classic, that Egypt tour is a classic itinerary. They are all available at 15% off. Again, if you're looking to book something now under deposit, which is just $350 for travel later. And then if something comes up and you need to change your travel plans, again, that deposit stays on file for you and you can change your travel date anytime. So great opportunity to get some savings if you're interested in planning to travel in the next basically 2 years. So with G Adventures, we've got lots of different destinations for you. We are doing our best to make sure to bring in some new health and safety protocols to keep everyone safe. But with our 30-year history, with our local offices, with our base in Canada, rest assured we're taking care of you from start to finish. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation tonight. If you have any questions, the team at Top of the World Travel are going to tune in right now.
Thank you, Erin. That was awesome. As always, we love dreaming about G Adventures with you. Yeah, it's the best. I just wanted to mention that back in 2019, I got to go on the Sri Lanka and Maldives tour, and it was just incredible. Great food, great accommodation. And one of the things that I can't stop thinking about to this day is that on my 14-person tour, I was the only one who had never traveled with G before. And most of them had traveled 5 or 6 times. So it's just a huge testament to how much people love your product. And yeah, certainly it won't be the last G Adventures tour I'm going on. So I think that's always important to note. And anyways, we just really wanted to say thanks for joining us tonight, Erin, for putting the time into speaking to all of us, and for your support as a preferred supplier of Top of the World. And for everyone who did join tonight, thank you for coming. It was a great way for us to kick off our first virtual Travel Talk Tuesday. We're really excited about this program for going forward. We're celebrating our 30 years in business, and over the next 30 weeks, we have lots and lots of exciting virtual events coming up, different travel panels, travel talks, and we're really curious to hear feedback about tonight, how it went, and things you'd love to see going forward. We're always open, so please feel free to reach out anytime. And again, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks a lot, Erin, and I hope everyone has a great night.